start. Hi, Todd. Welcome to the Sutliffian Report. You recently wrote about being present when they stopped building the wall. Where were you and what did you see?
I was about 75 miles west of El Paso in a kind of a high desert area near Deming, New Mexico. And the Trump wall was, there was a section of it that had gone for a really long time, maybe 35, 40 miles. And they were building from the other direction eastward, and they were going to try to meet, they were going to try to, like the Intercontinental Railroad in 1869. And then all of a sudden the order came down from Biden. They just halt construction. They never quite made it. And so the wall, I went to one of the wall spots on the day that construction stopped. And by that day, by the time we got out there, it was, mostly tractors and equipment, heavy equipment were being started up and driven off the kind of the staging area and pad and then onto the wall road. And you could just see them slowly at 3 miles an hour just drive that way until they kind of disappeared from sight. It was pretty poignant to see that and to see go up right up to the wall itself at the spot where they dug the trench, the last little bit of trench, maybe the day before, and they were going to fill it with, they had metal down, rebarb down there where they were going to, plant the next Ballard thing. And you could go right there and you could see that this wall is, 30 feet high and really nice wall. I mean, ballards that were spaced in just such a way that you could see the other side through it. And they were gonna build, put another segment in right there, and they just called it quits. And what it was replacing was a steel, kind of like, think of D-Day beaches, the Normandy beaches with
Yeah.
the big metal kind of. It's something like that it was replacing. It's a vehicle barrier, but you can just jump right over the thing. I mean, there's just nothing to it at all. So there's 1 mile between the two pieces of wall that it just stuck, and there's this gap. And that is the gap that will now become the smuggling corridor for that whole region, right? They're going to funnel right through there. And so you could see that, and there were Border Patrol people who were coming and going. And I did talk to a few of them about this, and I have a piece out right now, actually just published a couple hours ago, about Border Patrol agents and what they really think about the wall, stopping of the wall construction, and how the new wall changed their jobs and how they feel about the new wall. It's up on CIS.org under my name, Todd Bensman, about how Border Patrol agents are the only real experts, but on the wall. And like, one of them is telling me, like, who are these experts? The TV's always quoting these experts talking about how the wall doesn't work and they just climb over it. And if you build a 30-foot wall, they'll bring a 35-foot ladder and that sort of thing. And he's like, they're just like, these people don't know anything. We spend 40 hours out here a week with this thing. Nobody knows it like we do.
I think they're forgetting that the southern border is pretty much on a desert. And if you're going to carry a 35-foot fence, that's, yeah, I don't think so. It might get you up one side, then you have to pick it up and put it down the other side. I don't think that's going to work as well as they think.
The Border Patrol guys rarely get quoted directly because they're not allowed. They always run, so it's very rare to actually get them talking. And the only way I was able to do it is to, no names, no identifiers about who you are or exactly where you work. And in that way, I was able to get like some real from the heart conversation from them about how the wall has helped them do their job and how it works so well. So anyway,
I've heard interesting statements about how the wall has allowed allowed them to like certain areas have become safer is what I have heard. And then I've heard about how it's actually not only done that, it's allowed them to concentrate in more in other areas where where they were more spread out before they can now concentrate in these other areas. So
Yeah, a lot of it's just
that's what I've
common.
gotten a lot from your writing and from others. But yeah, if the wall isn't working, why is this effective?
Yeah, if the wall's not working, how come everybody's screaming and yelling so hard about how it doesn't work? That thou doth protest too much, I say.
Yes,
If it
that's
really doesn't work, then and you don't want it to work and it's not working, what you really do is shrug, smirk, and just kind of walk away, with a smirk on your face, right?
yeah.
But that's not what happens anyway. So the other thing that I saw out there that I thought was worth mentioning is that there are uh, wall segments stacked 10 and
Oh
15 feet
yes.
high out there for acres and acres and acres. I mean, there must be thousands of these things already assembled and just sitting out there. And if they're never going to be used for that, I don't know what else they could ever be possibly used for. There's like this one purpose for those things. And even so, like, going to move them, what they're going to do with it. Nobody is talking about any of that. It's going to cost millions just to move that stuff to somewhere. And then, like, where are you going to move it anyway? I mean, there's acres and acres of just 10-foot high, each one is like, maybe this wide, and then it's just 10, 15 feet high. And just, 70 acres filled with it. I don't know what they're going to do with that. Nobody's talking about it. Um, when I
I think
talk,
your articles, I think one of your articles talked about that, but the thing that got me is, again, this is all paid for by federal funds. Wouldn't it
so
be
it's
mismanagement of funds not to use them?
to make a political point with your left wing. So
Yeah,
to make that is the most expensive political point that I think I've seen in a long time, that one.
wow. They wanna claim that they're being wise with their funds, yet they're not doing anything to use the funds that have already been spent. Oh, wow. Use the
Right. Or
materials.
or you're going to add a massive surplus to what you've already spent just to move that stuff somewhere else.
Oh,
I don't know how
wow.
I don't know how they're going to move it. I mean, this is way out in the desert, Paul. I mean, this is like 75 miles out there, and the road's just like kind of a state highway. I mean, you're going to have these big giant trucks come out, and with cranes to, nobody's answering what's going to become of that.
That's an interesting question. Well, you're the boots on the on the ground type of guy. Have you been talking to migrants hoping to get into America because of Biden's desires to make us an open borders type of country?
Yes, as a matter of fact. So I spent last week, I was in Juarez, Mexico, where there are a lot of migrants. They are angry because their expectations were built so high so fast by the talk coming out of the Biden campaign and then the Biden White House about how they're all going to get let in, and everybody gets in, no exceptions, nobody gets detained, amnesty, citizenship, work permits for everybody, and no consequence whatsoever for you having entered illegally and broken all our laws. They love that, and they thought that they were going to get in right away, but the problem is that there is the Biden people have to come up with some kind of a process, like how many get to come in, when, where, and how, and what's the legal mechanism and that sort of thing. They have to figure that out, and the migrants don't understand that and don't care. All they know is, if you don't let us in, like, pretty soon, we're just going to force the issue. And I had quite a few of them tell me, we're just going to force our way over in mass. There's a plan to do that. I don't know if it's going to happen, but we are starting to see in the Del Rio section. So there's this pressure against the wall now, powerful pressure all along the border to burst the seam. to finally just get in. And I don't think I think that it's just going to happen organically. And so what we're seeing in Del Rio, I just filed this story. I'm writing a lot lately.
I
I mean,
don't doubt it.
20 minutes ago, I wrote this piece about the Del Rio sector. I don't think it's published yet. That the Border Patrol and the powers that be, at least in that one sector of the Texas border, have reinstituted catch and release, which means that now all of these Haitians and Cubans are just pouring in over the Rio Grande. And instead of sending them back, they're giving them notices to appear again. Remember
Oh,
all that?
yeah.
And putting them on buses. They're loading bus after bus after bus, Greyhounds, and they're just driving into the interior, never to be seen again, I'm sure. Um, and that's happening on a pretty significant scale in Del Rio. And I just broke the story, I guess, or reported it.
That's New Mexico, correct?
No,
Del Rio?
that's Texas. Del Rio is actually kind of um, central, south central Texas.
I thought Texas had sued the Biden administration and received some relief, and yet they're still doing that. I find that
Well,
fascinating.
I mean the catch and release, that's the powerfully incentivizing policy that was directly responsible for the 2019 migrant crisis that we had, where nearly 1 million Central Americans just swarmed over the border, and we didn't have any
Well, it's
detention.
2016, or was it, or
2019,
2015?
well, we had
2019.
2019, we had
Wow.
900,000 Central Americans crash the border. There was nowhere to put them. We didn't have the Border Patrol to stop them. So what we did was we gave them a notice to appear someday in court and said, "Vamonos." And that's what they did. And they're still in the country now, most of them
Wow.
ineligible for asylum. And Trump all but eliminated that with a whole bunch of cocktails of policies. He killed catch and release. Greatest, he called it the greatest, one of the greatest threats to the homeland and border security that there is, catch and release. And they've been doing it in Del Rio sector since the day after the inauguration.
Wow.
And no press coverage, no media. Um, I got what they're doing is they're releasing. So Haitians are coming over in large groups of 50, 60, 100 right over the Rio Grande. Border Patrol picks them up, and instead of sending them back to Mexico, which would be normally what they do for COVID, or under remain in Mexico, you're going to do they canceled that. The Biden people canceled that, and they're just giving them to migrant advocate workers who are helping them get bus tickets, money and bus tickets, and then they're putting them on the buses, one after another, and they're shipping them up to San Antonio, and then beyond that. And so they're just like it's a steady stream of migrants coming in, and this is something really new and different about the border right now under Biden. That catch and release, the greatest evil of illegal immigration to the country, the thing that Trump worked the hardest to kill dead, is being used again already.
That's really scary. Um, One of the things I wanted to talk about is I've been reading through these executive orders, and this week there was an executive order written about migrants being separated from their families, and there's a statement in there that basically said it's only under Trump, and it's basically saying it's all Trump's fault.
True.
You and I have actually discussed this under Trump's administration, and it was referring to things that happened under Obama, but um, as I simply saying those children are being separated from those they come with is not the same thing as saying they're separated from their families. Could you give us a little background again on this and why this executive order will cause problems?
Well, there's a reason why there are a lot of migrants, unaccompanied minor migrants. That's assuming that we know their ages even, because I've seen a lot of 21-year-olds who look young, say that they were 14 so they can get in. That notwithstanding, if an underage migrant shows up with somebody who is not a parent, and that you can prove that that's a parent with a birth certificate that has everybody's name on it, or a legal guardian, and they've got papers to prove that they're a legal guardian, the DHS has no choice but to protect the child from whoever they're with. So they take them from whoever the adult is and put them in a detention center until they can figure it out. Who is this guy? What's the, they don't know if he's a sex trafficker or some kind of holding them a kidnapper, or they don't know really what's going on between the child and the adult. So they separate them, and they have the unaccompanied kids, and that's how some of them end up separated. The other thing that happens is right now, there's, Title 42, which is the pandemic related emergency orders since March, that allows Border Patrol to pick up a migrant on the US side and just drive them almost directly to the border and drop them off. Station there, and they drop them right back over the bridge. And that's to keep the detention centers clear of, so they don't become COVID incubators. So there was a court ruling that said that you could not do that with minors. It was a recent one, maybe a month or so ago. You can't Title 42 minors. And on top of that, the Mexicans started to say, we're not going to accept you repatriating minors under 42. We won't take them. So once you have those circumstances and you're a parent on the Mexican side and you've got a kid, what they're doing is they're marching them up to the border and say, go, just get in. They're not going to deport you, and they'll take care of you, and they'll find Aunt, Minnie up in, Minnesota or whatever, and they'll hook you up and they'll get you a bus ticket, and they'll reunite you with, at least family here in the United States. And don't worry about me, I'll figure out a way to get in. So you have hundreds and hundreds of those happening, those cases where adults in Mexico can't go in with their kids right now, except in Del Rio, evidently. It's a mess. It's a mishmash of policies in some places that aren't being applied in other places. It's just strange. But you're seeing a lot of unaccompanied minors being released to relatives in the interior, and of course, they're the next DACA generation. They'll be here forever.
Yeah.
And everybody knows it.
Wow. I look at this, I'm really concerned. I see severe issues ahead. Has Biden attacked Trump's stay in Mexico rule for asylum seekers as they await approval? This is kind of what we were just saying. They should probably just leave that one alone. Has Biden done anything to increase the ability of our men and women to vet immigrants?
No, but I hope that they will. I think it's too early. They can't even figure out how to bring over the ones that are there under MPP, Migrant Protection Protocol. Wait in Mexico. They can't. They're too early for vetting. But if I were to have my guess, I wouldn't put a lot of money on it. I hope they do. I hope they figure out a way to, vet the children for MS-13 and vet the adults for cartel membership and criminal history. If you have a big migration crisis that collapses the systems, nobody's going to get vetted. We've seen it over and over again. The biggest threat to national security, in my opinion, on those counts is a mass migration surge. And it really does look like, we're headed for one of those in the near future. I hope I'm wrong.
I'm I've heard on that light. I have just read an article this just before I left my job, and it said that cartels are now paying for migrant caravans. Um, and I don't know if you've heard anything on that too, or
No, not that one. Um,
okay.
uh,
That was a little surprise. Todd, I want to say thank you for joining us. You're always a fountain of information. Please keep fighting for us. Help us stay informed and getting that story. Thank you very
well,
much.
one way you can stay informed, you and your readers, or your viewers rather, and readers, is to tune in Tuesday, this coming Tuesday, to
That's right.
our CIS panel, because we're doing a whole panel on my book, which comes out this
Oh,
month.
I didn't realize it was all on the book. I'm already I'm ready. I got it on my calendar to go. On the yeah.
A lot of it's on the book, but we have experts who are what I call covert border war warriors, who are working in the Homeland Security programs to catch jihadists at the border, and did catch jihadists at the border. And we're working in this, the whole apparatus. And it'll be really interesting these guys have never been on any kind of a panel talking about this stuff, I guarantee you. So it'll be interesting at cis.org. Uh,
It's
you know,
Tuesday, I think at
1
1
p.m.
p.m. Eastern time.
So I got to plug that. So
Definitely. So I'm going to tell everybody, you definitely want to listen to this because I know I'm going to be there. I'm going to make sure I get home early to listen to this because the topic is extremely important today, unfortunately, even more so than it was a year ago. Um, thank you again. Definitely want to pick up his book, America's Covert Border War. You definitely want to pick that up. You can find it on Amazon. And where's the publisher again?
it's Post Hill Press, Bombardier Books, and it's everywhere that books are sold, and Kindle and Nook and